So thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So it's actually currently now 1 o'clock in the morning, technically Sunday now, and we're probably a little over an hour removed from Dillon Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin, and the dust is settled. I think me and a few others have had time to kind of assess the situation, basically, because it was such a shock. It against the run of play, and plenty of knockouts have happened against the run of play, but when you consider the fact that in that fourth round where Dillon Whyte had Povetkin down twice, he dropped him with something like 15 seconds to go in the fourth round, and you think to yourself, if that had been with 30 seconds to go, or if there was an additional 10-15 seconds on the clock, Whyte might have got Povetkin out of that fight in that fourth round, and we may be doing videos talking about how great Dillon Whyte looked in winning. Instead, Povetkin got the minute's rest, found an uppercut from the gods, and knocked Dillon Whyte damn near into outer space. What does Dillon Whyte do now? Because Dillon Whyte, he's a man who's had to go through so much just to get a WBC title shot, which he's never got yet. This is a man who was #1 ranked for the best part of 3 years, give or take. This is a man who was #1 in their rankings. Okay, now let this sink in. He was #1 in their rankings, and yet they allowed Dominic Breazeale, who I believe at the time was ranked #4 in their rankings, to fight Eric Molina, who I don't even think was ranked, as a final eliminator to make them mandatory for the WBC title, while Dillon Whyte was #1 ranked. And I think that was on the undercard of Wilder Stavern. Obviously, mandatories and all got pushed back. Breazeale didn't get his title shot until 2019 because of the whole Fury situation, this, that and the other. But even still, then of course the Oscar Rivas fight comes about. Dillon Whyte finally gets his hands on that interim title, and we're thinking, okay, maybe he'll get his shot next. No. Tyson Fury gets the shot. He beats Deontay Wilder. They're signed up for a trilogy. Then they want the AJ Fury fight. Dillon Whyte is like, what's going on here? Where am I going? What am I doing? They're saying 2021. I think obviously if you know what hadn't happened this year, we might have maybe, who knows, seen it this year. Who knows? But he's going through all these loopholes. He's going through all these challenges, this, that and the other. And you take a fight against a 40-year-old, basically 41-year-old man. I think Povetkin's 41 in about 2 weeks. Everyone thinks you should win. This guy looks very shaky against Michael Hunter, albeit Michael Hunter is a very, very different fighter. Dillon Whyte, he's a lot smaller, he's a lot faster, he's a lot more mobile, etc., etc. But you're in there against someone who's not as dangerous as they once were. But you still have your title shot on the line. And you go and get knocked out by one punch. It's a sad story. And to me, it just, you look at this and you think Dillon Whyte. The title of this video, as I'm sure many people will know, I've done this title many a time about many a fighter with a problem. He has a big problem. Because although Eddie Hearn has said there's a rematch clause in this contract, which, I don't doubt that, and, I'm sure Povetkin will take it. Say, for example, Dillon Whyte applies that rematch clause, okay? This is not going to be the same Dillon Whyte going into that rematch. Especially because Eddie Hearn's talking about having this before Christmas. We're at the end of August now. So we're talking about Christmas. We're talking, November time, December time? That was a brutal knockout. That was a very, very heavy knockout, a heavy fall. Those knockouts, I don't care if you were on top for the first 4 rounds and you dropped that guy. Those kind of knockouts take a while to recover from. You can't just shake a knockout like that off in a couple of months and expect to go in there with that same opponent, or who knocked you out very badly, and perform to the same level. Look at people like Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis, when he was knocked out against Oliver McCall, they didn't take that rematch immediately. Manny Stewart built Lennox Lewis up. He had a couple of tough fights. He had a couple of rebuild fights before he went in there with Oliver McCall. Obviously, when he was knocked out by Hasim Rahman, that was a different story. Lennox Lewis knew what he did wrong. His confidence was to such a level. He was a lot older, but he was a lot more confident in himself, so he could go in there and take that immediate rematch. Put it like this, right? Dillon Whyte was knocked out against Anthony Joshua. That was not as bad as the knockout he suffered against Povetkin. And Dillon Whyte, ever since then, he's had opportunities to fight Anthony Joshua. He's had big money fights offered to him to fight Anthony Joshua in Wembley last year. He's not taking them. Because I believe there was a psychological trauma about that fight. And Dillon Whyte's chin was never the same after the AJ fight. But I think it's fair to say that now. Now you're going in there against Povetkin, albeit he's not as formidable at this stage in his career as Anthony Joshua still is. But this is a guy who knocked you out damn near out cold. This is a guy who found one punch that you didn't see coming and was able to knock you out cold with that. I think that kind of knockout will take time to recover. If they put him in there with Povetkin in November, December, I don't know if that's enough time to recover. Seriously. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an upset. Would it even be an upset this time? I know some people felt that this was an upset, but would it be an upset this time if Povetkin beats Dillon Whyte again? Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe Povetkin, because to me, I noticed signs of deterioration there in Povetkin. Maybe he will have deteriorated to such an extent that it won't matter, because the punch resistance needs to be gone with Povetkin at this stage. I felt this early on in that fight. I felt his time was very off. It definitely looked that way to me. Some people may disagree, but I felt his time was very off. Obviously, it wasn't when he threw that left uppercut, but I thought for the most part, especially with the left hook, his left hook looked horrific. The timing was all over the place in that fight, as far as I was concerned. Having said all that, if Dillon Whyte does get this rematch with Povetkin this year, that his WBC title shot, which was due February 2021, gonzo. Because as far as I'm aware, the mandatory resets. I believe that's a rule with the WBC. So Povetkin, albeit he's inherited WBC interim title, and I'm not sure with the diamond title on the line as well in this fight, I'm not sure. But he's inherited that title. Theoretically, he's inherited the mandatory status, but he's not inherited the mandatory date, because WBC have the rules, they push that date back. If this was the IBF or WBO, different story. I think they'd stick it as it is. But with this, I believe they'll push it back. So if Dillon Whyte fights Povetkin in December, and let's say he fights very cautiously, he moves, he beats Povetkin, say, on points, that doesn't mean February 2021 he's got that title shot again. And do you know what? When I think back to some of the videos I've said, and I actually wish, I might even see if I can find them and leave a link to them in this video, because I've done videos about Dillon Whyte for the last, since the start of the channel, start 2019. But for the last few months when I've done videos on Dillon Whyte, been a recurring theme in some of the things I've said, especially when he's talked about WBC title shots, Tyson Fury, etc., etc. I've always said that I felt Dillon Whyte would lose before he got that title shot. Now you can go back to some of my old videos on Dillon Whyte, and I've always said it in those videos. I always felt he would. I didn't necessarily think it would be against Povetkin. Truth be told, I actually thought that if he was to lose, it'd probably be in like a Parker rematch or something like that. But the more I thought about this fight, the closer we got to it, the more I felt an upset was likely. But at the time when I made them videos, I didn't think he'd lose to Povetkin personally at the time. But things change. But I've said that for the longest time in some of those old videos I did, that I thought Dillon Whyte would lose before he get that title shot. And I was obviously proven right. He did lose. So, what's he going to do? I reckon what he will do, maybe this isn't the right thing, I reckon he'll take the Povetkin fight, the rematch. If he wins, happy days, he gets a shot. But I reckon he'll sit on that mandatory. I don't think he will just wait and see what happens. They might try and push for it, but I can't see the WBC being very forthcoming. And this is another thing you need to remember. The WBC, how kind are they going to be to Dillon Whyte? Because Dillon Whyte's talked about taking down the legal road. He's been, going in on Mauricio Sullivan in several interviews and stuff I've seen. So if Dillon Whyte fights Povetkin in November, December, and he beats Povetkin, what's Mauricio Sullivan going to do? Is he just going to turn around and be like, okay, yeah, you can have it in May 2021? He might turn around and say, do you know what, you can have it in November 2021. I'll make you wait even longer. We'll make you wait until like 4 years after you were made #1 contender. Yeah, we'll make you wait that long. They could do something like that. You never know. And obviously you've got to take AJ Fury into consideration. Eddie Hearn, I'm sure deep down, is, popping the champagne. Because now Joshua needs to if Joshua wants to vacate the WBO, fucking vacate it. But at the end of the day, all Joshua has to do is get by Pulev. He's getting by Pulev. It's a fairly easy fight. Fury, Wilder, God only knows what's happening there. But let's say they fight December. I think we're all picking Fury to win that fight. AJ Fury next year, anyone? March, April? Then a rematch later on in the year? That's what's on Eddie Hearn's mind now. I'm telling you, that's what's on Eddie Hearn's mind. And Dillon Whyte, I mean, like I said, he's got a big problem. I mean, he ain't going to get that title shot anytime soon. Dillon Whyte, it's amazing to think, though, when you think of it like this. This is a man who's never had a world title shot. And yet, if he wanted to, he could retire now after this fight comfortably with the amount of money he's made. But it is crazy to think that he's not got a world title shot yet. And just given what's happened, oh boy, I think it's unlikely. I mean, imagine this, people. It could be 2022 before Dillon Whyte gets a title shot, if even. If even. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, I'm going to leave it here. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is next for Dillon Whyte? Seriously. And are you like me thinking, that was a bad knockout? That was a very bad knockout. Is he going to go in there against the guy who knocked him out badly in 3 months and just be able to switch it on like that as if nothing happened? I don't think he will. Personally, I don't think he will. I think if Dillon Whyte meets Povetkin again, he is going to be cautious. He will not be even remotely trying to engage Povetkin, I don't think, out of fear of getting countered with that left uppercut again. So, those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Of course, if you are new to the channel, I hope you enjoyed this fighter with a problem as much as I enjoyed making them. Subscribe if you're new, of course, people. And as always, I will talk to you.